About 90 minutes from now, President Obama will officially nominate former Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray to run the new Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The bureau was created by the Dodd-Frank Wall Street overhaul bill, signed into law over just about 1 year ago this week. Has it done any good? The editor at Bloomberg View, well, they think so. In today's editorial, they write, quote, Dodd-Frank isn't perfect, but already its influence on the financial system has been positive. The editorial also urges regulators to keep pushing against financial industry lobbyists trying to neuter the law and warns that, quote, too big to fail is an even bigger worry now than it was before the crisis. Let's get some insight now from our Washington executive editor, Al Hunt. Al, 1 year, Dodd-Frank law. We've had plenty of people in the financial community complaining about it, but it sounds like they're better off, according to Bloomberg View.
Well, there's a sense, there's a consensus, if you will, among labor unions and consumers on the one hand and Wall Street and big banks on the other, that Dodd-Frank is flawed. They just totally disagree on how it's flawed, with the latter saying that it's too tough and the former saying it's not tough enough. It probably, I think the view may be close to right. It probably walks that middle line, that balancing act, pretty well. The test will be in some of the rules and regulations and some of the efforts by Wall Street and other banks to change or gut some of the regulations. Yeah. Still big questions on derivatives, big questions on too big to fail.
Huge questions, particularly on derivatives, ironically, being the agents that are blamed for the crisis. But about consumer protection, that seems to be just such a hot-button issue. Elizabeth Warren, who helped create the agency, had an editorial today saying there are still enemies out there of the Bureau itself. Do you think Richard Cordray is someone who can sort of take a little bit of heat off the agency?
Oh, he does. He's not quite the red flag to some of these interests that Elizabeth Warren was, but a lot of the financial community just hates this agency. They think it'll be a watchdog that'll create all kinds of needless bureaucracy for them, and that it'll really stifle innovation and everything else. And Elizabeth Warren was the red flag. Cordray doesn't have that history. However, he has been over at the agency. He's got a strong record for a pro-consumer advocacy type. Some of the financial institutions in Ohio, where he was the state attorney general, didn't like him. I don't think it'll be a popular choice. And Margaret, there were 44 Republicans who sent a letter out that said, I don't care who they nominate. They can nominate Margaret Brennan, and she wouldn't be confirmed.
Well, Cordray also is known in the financial community for, having led the charge with the state's attorneys general. He was on this show talking about, mortgage practices. So I don't know that he's necessarily the compromised candidate, is he?
No, I think not in that sense. He's a guy with a very impressive background. He clerked for 2 Supreme Court justices. He's argued a number of cases before the court. He held statewide office in Ohio, lost last year, as a lot of Democrats did. So I think very few people doubt his intellectual prowess. But again, these financial interests really are opposed to the whole agency, and he just personifies that. My guess is if he wants to, I don't think he can get through a Senate confirmation. He could get through, however, with what they call a recess appointment, where Obama taps him in August and he can serve for like 16 months.
And is that the way we're going to go, you think? Recess appointment?
I think unless Republicans are able to use a parliamentary device to prevent a recess appointment, I think that's probably the more likely way.
All right. Al Hunt, thank you for joining us.